Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video and a brand new episode on the Grow Your Imagination channel today. So this is a Friday night update. It is the 24th of July update. But before we do get going, if you haven't already, do make sure to like, share and subscribe. But let's get into it. So a little bit to update on the greenhouse. There's a little bit to go through, so I'm just gonna step out of the way so my dad can get in there and show you some close-ups. So the first bit to update on the greenhouse is that our tomatoes are starting to ripen. We'll show you a close-up of that in a minute. But we're having to water every 1 to 2 days. We're having to water like every 1 or 2 days to stop them watering down too much. And tomatoes actually don't mind watering down a little bit because some say it actually intensifies the flavour of the tomato. But here's a close-up of it now. So I don't really like tomatoes, nor does my mum. My dad doesn't mind them, and he's trying to get me to try one on camera, but I'm not too sure whether I want to because I'm a little bit worried that I'll have to spit it out because I won't like it. So there's some peppers that are starting to get quite nice and big now. So maybe in the next week or two we might have some peppers to be picking. And so if there's too many that we can't handle them, we'll probably have to figure out a way of preserving them. So with the grow bag peppers that you just saw, the last bit or that you just saw on camera, were in our grow bag. They don't need as much water as the peppers don't need as much water as our tomatoes do, but you don't want to let them dry out like many other plants. So I'm just gonna, my dad's just gonna show you a quick close up of our melons. In a minute, but from what we know, when you grow melons in the UK, they take a little bit longer to get going, or if you're not in a hot country, like we're not in a extremely hot country. We do have some hot weather sometimes, but it takes longer to get going. And we try to leave the greenhouse door open as much as we can during the heat of the day. But here's a close up of the melons. So the main reason why we leave the greenhouse door open is because it means more air can get in, 1, and 2, it means more pollinators, and that will mean that they pollinate the flowers and we get more fruit and veg. So like a week ago, I think we had our first 2 blackberries that we could eat, and we ate them. And so there's some more coming along, and these have come on quite well in the last week, and there is some more lower down. And we might even get a very little cup or a handful of blackberries this year, which will be quite nice. So we've had some nice growth on our blueberries, and we added some sulphur to it the other day. We'll do that we've done that in an odd job video, which will be coming out very soon. Or if not, it would have come out. I'm not too sure when my dad's planning on putting that out. So there's not really much more to update on the fruit tree. So here's just a quick little scan of all the growth, and there's been quite a lot of growth. So here's a quick little scan of all of them. Actually, stop. There is two more fruit trees, and there are 2 grape varieties. And only one's actually producing a little bunch right now. Maybe it's because the other variety are a little bit slower to actually start producing, but there's a big bunch there that you just saw on camera, and there is another little bunch coming through. So because we're not going golf this weekend, we're actually going tonight. We might actually have time to put these in their permanent position and create a trellis for them, and hopefully that will look quite nice. Maybe up on the bark up top, and we'll show you some progress in that in a little while. hold up, there's one more. So as soon as we think we've done, nope, there's one more. No, this is the last one, and it's our tayberry. And you remember it started off quite small, and now it is getting quite big. Still no signs of tayberries yet, but it's doing really well. It's recovered quite nicely, but it just seems a little bit slow to start. And if we don't get any this year, we'll probably get them next year. So we've got some more Alpine plants here, and these will either go in our Alpine area or we'll create a new Alpine area for them. And but so that's that. But there's also some no, there's a little close up. So yes, but here are some peppers. But they're getting along quite well. There is one in the cold frame as well next to our tayberry. We're not going to pick them right now, but we will be soon. And then the next thing is peppers. And so we've got some peppers there, and we've also got more outside, but we'll show you them in a minute. So there's some big ones, and there's also some melons as well. The trellis is going a little bit skewy, but that's okay. But yeah, and then there's more peppers outside here. They're getting I think some of them are bigger, but I'm not too sure fully. Yeah, I think some of them might be a little bit bigger. So oh yeah, the sun's a little bit in my eyes right now, and I'm not too sure why, because it's quite cloudy overhead. But we haven't showed you the potatoes in a little while, and we will do once they get a little bit bigger. We actually need to water them in a little bit. But here's a little like scan of some flowers. And our passion tree plant, or trellis plant, whatever you want to call it, has got quite big. And at the weekend, because we're not going golf, we might see whether we can get a trellis for that. But here's just a few of our other nice plants next to our passion flower. So we sowed some modules of stuff, and it's a lot of different variety, and they're starting to come up now. And we've done this because we're actually starting to harvest more, and so we need to start filling up the spaces. And so they're coming up. We actually need to give them water, or I'll come out and water them in a little bit once we've done recording this episode. So the first bit to update on, or I should say, we're up here at our veg patch area, or our veg tier of our garden, and so the first bit to update on is the courgettes, and we're most likely going to be taking the last harvest of these and then pulling them out, and maybe even sowing them, and maybe even sowing a few more with the time left in the growing season, and see how they get on. Because every year my mum and dad have grown them, or we've grown them, they've done really well, and this year for some reason they haven't done as well. So the carrots and leaves are starting to go a little bit yellow, and this probably means that they're ready to pick. So we're going to do another harvesting video very soon. So you could just see there the nasturtiums are gone, so the bed looks a little bit cleaner. And we actually did this, one, because they were looking a little bit messy and they did need taking out eventually. But it made room for how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 of our suckers, and then we've got another one somewhere else, and our Brussels. So that was a good space. But let's go on to the cucumbers, where we've got a little bit more of an update. So we've got like 7 cucumbers here that are nearly ready, and you think that's a big one. We've actually got a bigger one around here, and then we've got a slightly smaller one here. And then there's like 3 more on the other side, which are quite hard to get. But there's one there, there's one at the back, and then there's one lower down, I think. So our cucumbers are doing really well, and we're looking to do a picking video soon. And some of the leaves are starting to go yellow and brown, so we're probably going to take those off. Because then the cucumber plants can go into growing healthier leaves, and not going into keeping the unhealthy ones alive. So the next little update is butternut squashes. and it's actually gone a little bit mental, so we've had to start growing it up the trellis now. And the bigger ones are at the bottom nearer the ground, and the smaller ones are as you go up. But we counted 15 on our last count of our butternut squashes, which is quite a lot. And we think they're ready when they're hollow. So when you knock on it, and when it's hollow, we think that's when they're ready. So our radishes are coming along quite nicely. So here's our radishes, and they look quite small right now, but they will get bigger as they progress. And we did this because they are quite quick growers. So we were just filling in the space between our garlics. So our broccolis have seemed to done quite well, but then we say that and they're growing, their heads are growing, but then most of them, well, 3 of them have gone to flower, and our biggest one has actually gone to flower, which is quite unfortunate. But so we might have to do some research, and maybe they only grow small, or we're doing something wrong. It's either one of the two, we're not too sure yet. And another solution might be we sow in August nearer the cooler weather, and by the time they're ready to go out, it'll be cool enough. Maybe they don't really like the heat. That might be also what it is as well. So our parsnips are coming along quite nicely, and you can see they're coming through there. They're not quite big enough yet, and then there's a tomato plant behind where our parsnips are, and that's producing some tomatoes. They're not quite ripe yet, but they nearly are. So the runner beans are coming along quite nicely. There's a really big one, and the rest of them are small. And we're going to be growing them in slightly a different way next year when we come to grow them. So this is the big one here, and it's got away from us a little bit, and it's well overdue the harvest. And so all of these are pretty only enough to do a very little, having a little stir fry or something like that. So the strawberries are coming along quite nicely. There's 2 ripening ones. There's one there, and there's also one here which needs a little bit of more growing, and so there's the other one before we can pick them. The turnips are coming along quite nicely as well. There's some quite big ones in there. So, but there's some marigold flowers just before we wrap up the video. That there are our first marigold flowers that we've got. But that's it for this Friday, the 24th of July update. If you did enjoy, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as always, don't forget to slam that notification bell. So there's 2 videos popping up now. One is the second episode of where we started so we did the first episode and then we did the second one. It'll be the second one that's going to be popping up now on the screen. Yeah, so there's 2 videos on the screen now, and one is the second episode of creating the strawberry bed, and the other one is the building of the cucumber trellis. So go check out my Facebook and Instagram. On my Facebook, I'm gonna maybe do a few more live streams over the holidays, but go check them out. There's Grow Your Imagination without any spaces, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye, guys.